Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to pull back the curtain on Google Ad Manager today. I know it can seem kind of complex from the outside, but trust me, by the end of this, you'll totally get the core pieces that make it all tick. So let's jump right in.
Have you ever really stopped to think about that? You load up a web page and bam, an ad just appears. It feels like magic, right? But it's actually a super structured, incredibly fast process. So what's really going on behind the scenes?
Well, that journey is exactly what we're going to map out. We're going to follow the entire path, from setting up the ad space to making the deal with an advertiser, all the way to that final split second when the ad is served. And it's all orchestrated by Google Ad Manager. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll look at the absolute foundation, your ad space. Then, we'll dive into how advertiser deals are actually structured inside the system. After that, we'll see the whole ad serving process in action. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about how you control who gets to do what in your network. Okay, let's start at square one. Before a single ad can ever appear, you have to tell the system where it's supposed to go. This is, without a doubt, the foundation for your entire setup. And the most fundamental piece of that foundation is something called the ad unit. You can just think of it as the basic building block of your inventory. It's basically you, the publisher, pointing to a spot on your page and saying, right here, this is where I want an ad to show up. A really great way to picture it is this. If your website is a giant parking lot, then an ad unit is one of those specific reserved spots. You've painted the lines and put up a sign that says reserved for ads only. Okay, so you've got the parking spot, but how do you let anyone know it's open for business? That's where the ad tag comes in. It's this little snippet of code that you put on your site, and it's the critical link, the telephone line really, between your website and Google Ad Manager. So when a user visits your site, that tag basically fires off a flare. It sends a signal out to Ad Manager that shouts, hey, over here, I've got a visitor and an empty parking spot that needs to be filled. Send me an ad, stat. And that single request is what kicks off the entire process. All right, so our ad space is defined, the parking spots are ready. The next big step is to take a real-world deal you've made with an advertiser and translate it into a set of instructions the system can actually understand and execute. Now, this all starts with what's called an order. Think of an order as the main folder for your entire agreement with a single advertiser. It holds all the big picture details for their campaign. And to keep our analogy going, if the ad unit is the parking spot, then the order is like the master rental agreement for that spot. It says who's renting the space, what the general terms are, and it keeps everything for that advertiser's campaign neatly organized in one place. But the real magic happens inside the order, with something called line items. If the order is the rental agreement, line items are the super specific instructions. They spell out the nitty-gritty, the exact dates the ad will run, the price, the specific type of audience to show it to, and, of course, which of your parking spots, your ad units, it should target. This is really the heart of the campaign. And, of course, you need the actual ad, right? In Ad Manager lingo, this is called the creative. It's the final piece of the puzzle that the advertiser gives you, the actual image or video or a bit of code that the user is going to see. And here's where we bring the analogy full circle. The ad unit is the reserved parking spot. The line item is the set of instructions giving a car permission to park there. And the creative? Well, the creative is the actual car that pulls into the spot, ready to be seen. Okay, so we've built all the individual pieces. We've got the space, we've got the deal, and we've got the ad itself. Now for the really cool part. Let's watch how all of this comes together in the fraction of a second it takes to actually serve an ad. It happens in 4 basically instantaneous steps. 1. A user lands on your website. 2. That ad tag we talked about immediately pings Ad Manager for an ad. 3. Ad Manager scans all the line items to find a perfect match for that specific ad unit. And 4, once it finds one, boom, it sends the right creative back to the user's browser. And what's just wild is that this entire process, this whole auction and delivery happens in the blink of an eye. We're talking milliseconds. The system connects a user's visit to the perfect ad almost instantly. It's an absolutely amazing piece of technology. So we've covered the what and the how, but what about the who? A system this powerful needs really careful controls over who can get in and what they're allowed to do once they're there. Ad Manager basically gives you 2 main ways to handle access. For your internal team, you create users. Then you give those users roles, which are just bundles of permissions that say what they can and can't do. For external partners, like an ad agency, you create companies. From there, you can add specific contacts and give them view-only access so they can check on how their own campaigns are doing.
And what this all boils down to is control. You get to decide, with incredible precision, who can see what and who can do what in your network. It's all about keeping things secure, organized, and running smoothly. And that really brings us right to the main takeaway. Ad units, orders, line items, creatives. Just like the source material says, these are the absolute core elements you have to create to get your campaigns off the ground. If you understand these, you understand the fundamentals. So there you have it. We've walked through the whole system, from just a blank space on a page to a fully delivered ad. You've got the blueprints now. You know the essential building blocks, so the only question left is, what are you going to build with them?